Okay, I think we can get started. Welcome, folks. Thanks for joining today's Sustainability Action Plan Executive Committee meeting. It's a mouthful, but welcome. I'm glad you all could be here. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and then we'll jump into the agenda and updates. All right, you all seeing a slide deck? Okay, sweet. So today's agenda, pretty straightforward. I sent this around yesterday in a PDF format, so feel free to follow along there if you need to. We'll start with some general updates. I'll call on a couple folks to provide those. Leave some time for any other discussion or updates from the group. And then we're gonna have a discussion and some review about the sustainability planning kind of recruitment participant process. And part of that will relate to those questions that I included in my email yesterday, kind of looking back at the sustainability action plan process previously, starting in 2020 and onwards, and then looking ahead to kind of what are the needs going ahead and what are some things to keep in mind as we begin this new planning process. Anything I'm missing on this agenda or suggestions or comments folks have? And feel free to raise your hand along the way. I can look at that as we go. All right, well, let's jump into updates. Damon, I think I'm going to call on you first to talk about the Husky Sustainability Award ceremony.
Yeah, so we shifted the timing of the Sustainability Award windows a little bit this year, but we have selected 6 Sustainability Award winners this year, plus a Legacy Award winner. I will be sending out an announcement to the group either later today or tomorrow, so you have all that list. I don't have the list in front of me, and I don't want to forget anyone. But we will have a ceremony for all of the winners on May 21st, which is a Tuesday afternoon. That'll be 3 p.m. Tuesday, May 21st, and that'll be in the Burke Museum's Cascade Room, which is a really nice space. And these events have been, the last few years have been trying to do these ceremonies to just kind of recognize these award winners, but also invite everyone that's working on sustainability around the UW to join us. After we recognize the winners, we'll have a little informal kind of time for, connection, reception, and conversation, and everyone can kind of come and hopefully recognize the work that you've been doing as well, even though we're not giving necessarily awards to everyone in this meeting, but everyone here has been doing lots of sustainability work that we want to recognize and just have this kind of an end of year time for that. And so we do have a little RSVP link that Lauren put in the chat that if you know you're coming, just to let us know, so we have a little bit better sense of what to expect for attendance. But it's not necessary. If you're able to come, please join us for that day. And like I said, I will be sending out an email to everyone so that you know who the winners are, and you'll have that information on the event in your email soon.
Thanks, Damon. Any questions folks have? Okay, well, I'm excited to see who those winners are. Air travel emissions reduction updates. I know the air travel working group had a meeting today, so Marilyn, I'm going to hand it off to you to give any updates.
Okay, yeah, the highlights are we're working with the Faculty Council on Campus Planning and Stewardship to draft a resolution, and the resolution is pretty much, I think we've talked about that. It's just about having leadership commit to creating a program to reduce emissions. We met with FCUPS the beginning of the month, and we had one round of revisions, and we'll have another round at their next meeting in June. And then it turns out that we'll have to bring it back again in the fall because there will be new people on the committee. But our goal is to bring it back to FCUPS and then have them take it to the Faculty Senate. So the hope is that the resolution will be passed within the next academic year. And then the other major update is next, on the 15th, what's that, next Tuesday or Wednesday, we're having our second part of our webinar series on air travel. And this one's going to focus on, what actual solutions are, what types of actions we propose taking. And that's, our group is also looking at a few other things, but the focus is on getting this resolution forward and starting to communicate to the campus at large what we're doing and to hear their input. That's all.
Thanks, Marilyn. Any questions on air travel? Looking okay. Well, very exciting. Yeah, that resolution's coming along well, and we'll be sure to provide you all updates as we have them. Go ahead, Lisa.
Thanks, Lauren. I just wanted to mention, we did do a webinar yesterday as part of that series on the new green building standard. Thanks for those of you that were able to join and participate, and Damon's getting that video, the recording, up on our website soon, but encourage you all to watch it when you have time, because it's a university-wide green building standard. So just good info, and it was roughly 35 minutes, and it is applicable not just to new construction, but to renovations, HVAC equipment, and more like cosmetic interiors projects.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, that recording will be up soon. That leads well into our sustainability webinar update. That I believe we have 2 more in the works. One on air travel, as Marilyn mentioned, next week, and one on was it decarbonization, or was it general kind of sustainability?
Yep, so we've got 2 more. So the next 2 Wednesdays, we've got 2 last. So we've been doing this seminar series since January, kind of, we've been calling it Creating a Sustainable Campus. So there's already been webinars on HFS talking about food systems, transportation, recycling. Dave did one around Earth Day on the decarbonization, energy transformation work. Marilyn already referenced one that they'd done on air travel. So there's a full kind of series of ones that have already been done. The green building video will be up in the next few days as well. I put a link in the chat to all those past videos, and we have 2 more. So the next 2 Wednesdays, next Wednesday at 2 p.m., Marilyn and the air travel group will be doing as Marilyn referenced, the second webinar on air travel, and really looking at possible actions for UW to take around addressing those emissions. And then on May 22nd, so in two Wednesdays from now, Lisa is doing kind of a wrap-up webinar, the state of sustainability at UW, where we're really going to highlight kind of what we've been working on, some of the major sustainability efforts at UW, and sort of looking ahead to things like the upcoming renewal of the Sustainability Action Plan, and sort of, yeah, an overview of sustainability. So those are all on Zoom. There's a registration link, and again, that's all at that webinars site. So you can register for those next 2 webinars, see all the past videos, and highly encourage everyone to take a look at what's there and watch those recordings and join us for the next 2 events.
Thanks for plugging those links in, Damon. All right, well, I think that covers the first 3 general updates. So I want to leave the floor open to any committee members for other updates or discussion that you all want to have before we get into the heart of our agenda. All right, I'll take the silence as no. Okay, well, let's jump into this sustainability planning participant section. So for some context, the last meeting of this executive committee met on April 18th. And at that meeting, I shared a few kind of examples of other sustainability action plans and elements of those plans that that might inspire us as we create our new plan this coming fall. And so coming off of that, and letting us think a little bit about kind of what inspires us, I wanted to also think more critically about who we're bringing into our circle to help develop that and inspire us. So I'm going to walk through a few slides to kind of look at what the stewardship model or kind of how information might flow with how the SAP or the action plan might plug into the existing kind of committees and structure or governance of sustainability at UW. And then I want to show you a video, kind of promotional video that I created, get some feedback and reaction from you on that. And then we'll go through a bit of a kind of whiteboarding session where I'm going to ask you a few questions and I'll document your answers along the way. So first, this is the stewardship model that I believe Lisa had kind of started and you all had discussed a bit at previous meetings at the start of the year. And I kind of just plugged in this left side of what the sustainability action plan, like who and how are these people going to plug into our already existing structure and governance. So I won't lie, there's a lot going on this slide, but I wanted to kind of lay out how that flow of information would work and how it fits into the existing structure. Ideally, the various engagement mechanisms, so the sustainability, student sustainability forum, town halls, focus groups, and those topic specific working groups that we have talked about previously, those stakeholders working in those forums and in those groups would kind of feed directly into and inform and provide information to this executive committee. And then from there, information and kind of influencer updates would be shared beyond kind of our circular group and into kind of higher level governance at UW. So mapping these connections has helped me kind of see where there's opportunity for touch points with leadership, faculty senate, board of regents, and that kind of thing, and kind of understand who fits where and how to best message or communicate information along our development process. But wanted to show you this and kind of get grounded in that. But does anyone have any questions about kind of this model or how I'm thinking about it? Okay.
Lauren,
Yeah.
I had one thought,
Yeah.
and Lauren and I have been sort of talking about this for a while, alongside working with all of you to talk about this. We've gone through the process of sort of refreshing or revamping the governance structure for the ESC. I think some of the thinking that Lauren and I were talking about is we need to do that same governance rethink and restructure with this committee as well. Or I think we should, make sure that we take a good look at it and that we have the structure that we need to not only for the development of the plan, but for the implementation of the plan. So I guess I'm sort of also asking an open-ended question for committee members. Does that seem like something that we should begin to work on now and begin to think about now and over the summer? We're going to get a consultant on board soon. We're going to be going through roughly a 1.5 year long process to update the plan. And in some ways, updating the plan is I won't say the easy part, but the easier part. When we're done with the plan, we want to make sure that we have that governance structure in place, particularly with this committee, and the right people, on board through, I think, the development process so that they're invested in implementing it. So just putting that out there, is that something that we as a committee that you have thoughts on or that we should get started on sooner than later?
I mean, I guess sooner, right? Before we all spend a lot of time doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Lauren and I can maybe do some more noodling on that and come up with sort of an approach. But is there anyone that's interested since we've got your attention on participating on that subcommittee? That would be similar to what we did with the ESC. Don't all jump at once. All right, well, we can, yeah, Steve. Oh, you're volunteering. Yay!
volunteering.
Great. Oh, thanks, Steve. All
I'm
right.
literally raising my hand.
All right, and Ben. Cool, thanks. Okay, well, we've got a couple and we might recruit a few more of you, but thanks, Lauren. I didn't mean to get us sidetracked, but I guess, you know, it just felt like a good
Yeah,
time
good moment.
to talk
For
about that.
sure. Yeah, and I did get a good question in the chat, and I know it was just to me, but I wanted to bring it up. Like the arrows in this model or map, I don't think they don't have a defined meaning. I think they're just kind of showing how information can be shared or who's in what kind of group or who can influence what group. So I have Lou as like a dotted line to F cups because I think he kind of, from what I understand, attends those meetings as needed and can share and provide input to them. But yeah, faculty senate has influence with the president and board of regents. So just a way to see, but don't think of it as like a set in stone type of connection, if that makes sense. Good question, Ben. Will the consultant scope include exploring the governance model? I think not entirely, but I think adjacent to their work will be process. Their focus will likely be on process and strategy development with regard to the plan. So I think the consultant scope will probably leave out governance of the EC. Lisa, I'll let you kind of address that.
Yeah, I think it's a great, you know, I'm actually glad you brought it up. We hadn't thought about it, Ben, but at this point we weren't planning to have them do that. I think we're going to be, I think we're with the budget that we have for the scope of work. I think it'll be tough to fit in and could eat up a good chunk of the budget that we need. We're hoping to get, you know, like I said, really good engagement, a plan that has a very clear, that challenges us to have a very clear vision of what success looks like in 2050 for UW. And then, you know, goals and targets for those. And then what are our interim goals and targets and strategies and actions? And then we also want to have, pay a little bit more attention to some units and campuses, Bothell and Tacoma in particular, as well as medicine, that I think were sort of not well integrated into the current plan and need some more attention. So short answer is we're thinking no, but you know, this is the place to have that discussion. So speak up if you've got an opinion on that.
Go ahead, John.
So one comment, I believe that Lou is actually part of that faculty council. Each faculty council have a designated president's representative. And I believe Lou is the designated representative for representing on Amare. So
Okay.
he's actually a part of that council on her behalf.
Okay, I'll make that a solid line then. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, John. Marilyn, go ahead.
Lisa, you already asked, I was just curious to hear more from Ben, you know, if you have some insights about the importance of having the right governance structure, and if you're thinking that that would be an important thing to look more closely at.
The reason for the question is that if I'm a consultant coming in and trying to figure out how to help UW to, you know, update its plan, which needs to translate to action, I'm going to want to know what's the how, what's the governance. So my only thinking is if they're not going to do it, or it's not in scope for them, could we resolve what the governance system is for them before they're done? Because governance will matter in terms of what kind of recommendations they may have. Because yes, they're going to give you a product, but they're also probably going to make some astute observations with fresh eyes about how we might improve doing what we're trying to do.
Yeah, great point. So yeah, maybe we maybe we rethink what's in the scope. And I know Lauren, that was on the agenda for Lauren to talk about today. We're getting close to being able to send that draft request for proposals to all of you and to ESC committee members for your input.
Yeah, great question, Ben. We'll take a look at that and how we're phrasing that in our RFP. Okay, any other questions or comments that folks want to make regarding stewardship governance?
Hi. So I also had like a similar comment on governance. I guess right now there's also a potential to include some student body governance into this model. I'm thinking more like PACs from GPSs. They have direct access to Provost, so they can be part of this model as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that's something to think about as we form the governance model for the EC. Thank you for that. All right, well, let's move on to our next topic here. Before I start, this is the video. I created this video as an example of how we could kind of creatively socialize the sustainability action plan process for developing and implementation on a larger scale. So this video is kind of aimed at general UW community interests. But just noting that there's many kind of mediums that we can use to communicate and reach, specific target audiences, including social media, newsletters, emails, videos, things like that. So I'd like us all to watch this video together. And as you watch, I'd like you to think about what, does my audience that I'm speaking to make sense as more of a general audience? Does that kind of fit the bill? And then I'd also love to hear any feedback or suggestions that you have on how I could improve either my talking points or the design or creativity behind the video. And disclaimer, I'm not an actor, so don't judge me on that front, please. Okay, here we go. And let me know if you can hear this or can't hear the sound, but I should work. Hello, my name is Lauren Schultz, UW Sustainability's new Policy and Planning Specialist. I'm excited to announce the development of a new Sustainability Action Plan for the University of Washington, and I'm reaching out to you because we'd love for you to join us in the plan's development. What's the Sustainability Action Plan, you might ask? Well, let me share a bit more. The University of Washington adopted its first Sustainability Action Plan in July 2020, identified 10 measurable targets with a 5-year implementation window. UW has made significant efforts toward achieving these targets while also recognizing that there are opportunities for improvement. Now, UW Sustainability is gearing up for a revamped update to guide sustainability efforts post-2025, with more ambitious goals that are aligned with current scientific data and climate science, and that also include measurable strategies that create accountability and demonstrate the progress of the plan's goals. We are calling on a wide range of stakeholders, including faculty, staff, topic experts, students, and others in our community to help develop an ambitious plan. Everyone has a role to play in building a more sustainable future, and we welcome all experiences, ideas, and passions in our efforts. The Sustainability Action Plan development process will kick off this fall and be grounded in a few foundational focus areas: research, academics and learning, operations, diversity, equity and inclusion, and living labs. The new plan will outline a clear vision for sustainability at UW and answer the question, what does a sustainable UW look like in 2050? It will also detail the actions we need to take today and in the coming years to reach our 2050 goals. This process will provide a variety of opportunities for engagement. There will be topic-specific working groups focused on areas like green labs, food service, clean energy, and more. Additional avenues for involvement include the Student Sustainability Forum, which will give students a platform to contribute their ideas and expertise to help shape future sustainability initiatives at UW. Additionally, there will be broader town halls and focus groups aimed at sharing updates on the planning process and gathering feedback from the wider UW community.
By providing many levels for participation, UW is committed to creating a truly collaborative and inclusive planning process. We're dedicated to addressing the comprehensive needs of the entire university, including UW Medicine, UW Athletics, and the unique needs of our 3 campuses in Seattle, Tacoma, and Bothell. Your ideas, experiences, and passion can help shape a more sustainable future for our campus and community. If you'd like to play a role in the development or implementation of the new Sustainability Action Plan, please feel free to complete the interest form that's linked down below, or reach out to me, Lauren Schultz, at sustainability@uw.edu. And if there are others in your network who should be involved, you can also nominate someone through the interest form or forward this video to them. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you this coming fall as we build a new Sustainability Action Plan together.
All right. Thanks for watching that with me. Yeah, what do folks think? What are kind of first reactions? I'd love to hear a little bit. We don't have to spend too much time, but yeah, I'd love to hear what you think and if you have any suggestions.
Overall, nice job. Really like that you spoke and called out all 3 campuses. So I thought that's always important in something like this. So no, nice job.
Thanks, Ricky.
How would, I also want to echo, I think this is great. How would people encounter this? Like, is it posted? I mean, how much are you pushing it out versus people have to find it?
Yeah, good question. So Lisa actually came up with this idea, which is very fun. And we were thinking like we could make videos like this kind of targeted at specific units at UW that are more personal, maybe a little bit shorter. And then this type of video that's much higher level could potentially be posted in a newsletter like UW Today that gets shot out to like thousands of people at UW. So ideally, probably through email communication, social media, and trying to, promote it through blogs and things like that and partners that UW Sustainability has already. But that's a great question and one that I'm like, okay, what audience are we trying to reach and how to best reach them? And not have, like 3 minutes might be too long of a video. So I'm also trying to think of kind of short, succinct information.
TikTok,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't think we have a TikTok channel, and I don't know if UW allows that, but TikTok might not be around tomorrow. So
fair. Yeah.
But agreed, it's a very influential platform. Okay, anything else before we move on? Oh,
So
go ahead,
if
Marilyn.
Did someone else just speak up? I didn't want to.
it was me. You can go ahead.
Yeah.
I can.
Oh, okay. And Lauren, of course, I could talk to you about this later, but I'm just interested if other people have thoughts. As you know, I think this is awesome. I listened recently to a webinar online, and before the question and answer period, the person made this statement that I thought was really impactful. He said, now, if you're someone who feels like you're a little afraid of speaking up or being heard, we want to hear from you. I thought that was such a, just this quick little, very welcoming way to suggest that you don't have to be, someone who you think should be involved in order to participate. And then I'm also wondering, if to help people understand if they are a kind of person who could participate, like if you say something like, if you're an expert in an area we're interested, if you have strong opinions in an area you're interested, if you have ideas, or if you just have a different perspective or have some concerns, I don't know exactly what that phrase would be, but just some sort of hooks to help people know if we want what they have to offer and maybe which sort of forum would be the best way for them to participate.
Yeah. What are those hooks? Okay, who is next? Sorry, I missed that voice.
Oh, sorry, this is me, Hema.
Oh,
So
go
yeah,
ahead.
I also love the video. This is really nice. So the call to action is for people to participate in this, right? Like usually for me, I'm even if I don't like pay attention to the video, if there is some QR code or something, I would always like scan it and then go somewhere to a Google form or something and like read a little bit, and then I'm always ready to fill in that. So instead of like this email ID, maybe you have already planned this, but then like a QR code at the end would be great. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, more access to how to actually sign up.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Well, Lauren, you already know that I love it. I think you did an awesome job with the video. I think it's just really exciting. Like I don't think we've, or at least I haven't, I've only been here 2 years, but haven't seen a lot of sort of this type of outreach. So I think it'll be sort of an interesting experiment too. And then just to reiterate what you said before, I think as we do start thinking about a governance structure and how we actually go from a plan to implementing it, I think we can talk about doing some more targeted videos, like say to faculty. I'd love for us to get a lot more faculty on board and staff, of course, but I think there's a lot of opportunity, like you said, to do some see how it works initially, and then do a little more experimentation with some target audiences.
Yeah, I love the idea of doing like interviews with folks who have been involved already, and then also kind of like just finding and lifting up the voices of maybe the usual suspects, but also some folks that are outside the world of sustainability, but like have an important role to play in it. Just finding unique ways to share this process, and also highlighting others' efforts along the way. And I think this kind of like video or multimedia communication is something that we should also kind of bake into our planning process, and providing updates can be ways to provide updates to the community, as well as kind of ways to engage as we go along and develop the plan. So thank you all for watching it, and I'll be sure to share a live version of the video after this. So like if you have thoughts or want to watch it again for whatever reason, you can do that on your own time, and I'm happy to receive more suggestions. But I will have us move on to the next section. So I've shared this slide a few times now, but I'm just re-upping it so you all have these tools and remember that they exist. So we have a few tools to help with outreach and recruitment efforts for the action planning process. So the first one up on top here is the Sustainability Directory, which Marilyn and I have been working to update a bit with some new staff and faculty across different units of work that are related to sustainability. It's a great tool for me, especially as I'm learning who's doing what at UW, and who we could tap on as we start building out the plan. Again, we've also started to promote the Student Sustainability Forum, and that QR code is there and also linked in the PDF I sent around. I think we've gotten about 10 interested students so far without any big real promotion, which I think is great. It's just been kind of word of mouth between me at Earth Day events, and I think students have talked about it a bit with each other. But this will again be a way for students to be involved in the planning process, receive updates about it, and also kind of provide input as the working groups kind of start building out their goals and strategies for specific topics. And then finally here is that outreach tracker that a lot of you have already filled out with individuals who could offer their expertise or experience for specific working group topics. So I really appreciate that list. And the next slide I'll move into shows kind of who we've identified so far. Again, really busy slide, but I wanted to kind of break it down. And I've outlined those potential participants that you all have identified in that spreadsheet so far. So this helped me visualize any gaps or like underrepresented groups of or topic groups that we could definitely start kind of thinking outside the box a bit on who we can involve. And so I'd like us to I'll pause for a minute and you can kind of look through this. And then I'll just ask if folks have any observations or kind of suggestions that come to mind. One thing I noticed, oh, go ahead, Lisa, I'll let you go first.
Okay, we might have, you and I touched base on this earlier, but I just, for the benefit of the group, I'd love to make sure that we have a, and we do, yeah, love that we've added UW medical supply chain under purchasing and procurement. And I say that should be a big focus, you know, as we know that from our latest inventory that goods and services that we purchase is, you know, 68% of our emissions. So really trying to make sure we weave purchasing into the groups. And then also just realize that at some point, it may not be in some of the initial topic area working groups as we're developing the plan, but maybe sort of after the halfway point, really making sure that we're bringing in advancement and thinking about, you know, having some really clear strategies that advancement can help with our new plan. So
yeah, that's a great point, Lisa. And I noticed that a lot of the kind of large sort of like wicked problem topics like climate, water, like kind of larger, not operations necessarily focused, had very kind of few folks identified, and a lot of those who were identified were mainly faculty, which is great. But thinking like how in our new plan, we're, you know, going beyond operations in a sense where we're incorporating into areas like academics and learning, as Lisa mentioned, and medicine, athletics, wellness, climate justice. So thinking about other faculty or other folks at the university who maybe aren't working in operations or like facilities and things to build those folks into the loop, bring those people into the loop. Go ahead, Damon.
Yeah, just looking at this, it occurs to me that this is probably on your radar, but we need to make sure that we do look comprehensively at where things like Bothell and Tacoma often in some of these have kind of separate, you know, there are some things that are centralized through all three campuses, but most of them are sort of separate. So identifying where Bothell and Tacoma need to be plugged into all of these to make sure we're thinking about how they operate. And then the same for you know, the self-sustaining units. I think we've looked at that already. Medicine is obviously fairly well represented. I think HFS in some of these also has some separate, you know, they kind of have similar arms to some of these that may be separate. So we'll want to make sure that we identify where there are different spots on campus that might have independent arms that are kind of working on some of these areas to make sure that we're getting the full picture there.
Thanks, Damon. Yeah, making sure that tri-campus vision is included under kind of all the topics. And I think a lot of that brainstorming with different campuses and medicine and athletics will likely take place, like we'll likely have their own workshops, or like Charette says, Lisa had mentioned before, to really dig deep for those campuses in medicine and athletics, because they have kind of unique needs, and we want to make sure that we're not overlooking anything that might happen if we're just trying to incorporate them and, you know, under each topic. Yeah, being intentional with all of our unique needs. Okay, any other observations or suggestions? I don't mean for this time to be like a brainstorming session of who we're missing necessarily, but thought it was nice to see who we've gathered so far. Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh yeah, I just saw some great points in the chat and thought we should take this time to discuss them as a group. So John had asked, what about waste from capital projects? That's a great point. And I'd say we don't have green building. It's a topic that we plan to include. It's not in this pyramid thus far, but I think that would fall under the green buildings category. So we do, with the new green building standard, it's largely addressed in terms of the points you can get for the required minimum LEED Gold certification. But I think you're right, and this has actually come up in the webinar, that that we should sort of do a crosswalk with what's required for the GBS, what's required with City of Seattle and King County, construction waste, which is a good piece, but I think that can be added there. And then I love that Louise added, can we add equity? And we've talked about this as a group internally and think that rather than have equity as its own specific topic area, we'd make sure that we have specific representative to really think about equity as it relates to each of these different topics. I think equity and how we integrate equity could be really different in food service compared to waste, compared to medicine and procurement. But that's, really appreciate those questions. I think those are great.
And Jan, go ahead, and then I'll get to a few of the other comments.
Yeah, I have a question that really could be pretty naive. So apologies if folks have talked this through or thought this through already, but when I see the list of topics, I see 3 different ways of parsing what people are choosing or suggesting as topics. One is sectoral. So food service, wastewater, waste management, transit and fleet, these are sectors. And another thing I see here is a little bit of like parts of our organization. So medicine is a part of our organization. We're not treating it, there's some conflict between these 2 ways of seeing what a topic is. And there's a third category of topics that are actually cross-cutting. Clean energy, climate change, these are cross-cutting topics. So and I think that how we treat these topics matters for who we try to pull in to field, who we try to pull in from the field to join the groups. So if we recognize climate change as a cross-cutting topic, then we would need some cross-cutting representation. And I'm hoping that we can have some thought about that in advance, because otherwise we're going to end up with unintentional overlap or decisions that conflict from the different groups. Or you see what I mean? Like, we could end up accidentally siloing something that should be worked on across all the sectors.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as I was looking at who was suggested already, I saw a lot of overlap and folks who should be on multiple topics or like in the loop on many of the topics. So I think that's something as we build the structure of the actual working groups, we need to think, really intentionally about, as well as how we're sharing information between groups. And I think a lot of that might play into the roles of the group and like having leads and chairs that are able to, do that cross-sectional work potentially, but also hopefully framing the structure in a way that avoids a lot of overlap if possible, and allows for shared knowledge.
In the past, one thing that was kind of helpful was when it came to finance, and we had a separate working group that was recognized as cross-cutting.
Mm,
I was on that with Brian McCartan.
mhm.
So I think, and I saw that someone brought up investment in the chats too, which could also be tackled through a cross-cutting team. But anyway, I mean, at a bare minimum, it seems like there should be a separation of topics that are cross-cutting with those that are sectoral or organizational in scope, so that people could recognize where they should sit, and that they're not going to be asked to do both, and that some part of the sectoral agenda will be covered by the cross-cutting team.
Thanks, Jan. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Lisa,
think
go ahead.
It's a great point. So we're, and something that we've talked about a lot, but are sort of waiting for the consultant to get on board to help us figure out how do we have exactly what you're saying, Jan? How do we have this and structure our conversations and the work of plan development, knowing that there are some things that are very much overlap. This was, I think, our first attempt at just in terms of getting an easy way to get people to start thinking about who from their unit and, you know, who from their unit should be involved. And maybe it's in multiple areas and by topic area, but you're absolutely right. I think that's going to be a challenge and something that we're going to look to this group and the consultant to help us.
I actually don't think you need
organize.
consultant to tell us how to organize the topics. I think you've done a great job of getting started. I just wanted to apply another lens and see if we can evolve like a version 1.1 or 1.2 here
Absolutely.
of the list.
Yeah. And I'm hoping to kind of have touch points with the executive committee of like, here's how we've heard what you've suggested, and just continue revising and adjusting as we need to. And then once the consultant comes on, yeah, I think we should absolutely bring them what we hope to see, and that they would kind of just provide a guiding hand or some yeah.
Like I would never expect if we ask a consultant to try to help us figure this out in a way that fits how we're organized, we're going to be paying them a lot of money to do something that we should have figured out ourselves. So that's another way.
That's fair. Yeah, I will definitely include investments. I actually think it's in the tracker and I just did not add it to this slide. So there were some folks identified for investments, I believe, on the tracker already, but yes, that's probably another cross-cutting topic. I want to just note, Louise, I apologize for potentially the medicine definition here is I'm not aware of all the different pieces, so would love your
it's very confusing, so no one really gets it right, so I'm happy just to like orient you to it. So
perfect. Okay, I'll give you a call and we can make sure that it's reflected accurately.
Is the clinical enterprise supposed to be part of this, or is this supposed to be UW medicine and treating clinical as separate? Do people have thoughts about that, Louise?
So I look at UW Medicine as encompassing the School of Medicine, the hospitals, Airlift Northwest, the faculty practice plan, the clinics. It's all those entities that fold up under UW Medicine.
I get that wrong every time. Okay, yeah, School of Medicine, and yeah, okay, gotcha.
I know I need a chart. I need a map.
Yeah.
So but like back to the question, is this limited to School of Medicine, or are we thinking broadly about UW assets?
Yeah, no, I mean, I work for the Office of the President for the hospitals, so I'm bringing along the hospitals and then work with physician partners, and we have actually a School of Medicine rep. Julie Reed is on various committees, as is Zarina Francisco, I think. So we've got both School of Medicine and the clinical enterprise, although we're really focusing on the hospitals right now, because that's where the majority of emissions come from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I know we're nearing the end of our meeting, so I want to keep us moving, but as if you have other thoughts, after this meeting, feel free to email me. I'm happy to also jump on a call as we start parsing out these individuals and groups. It's very helpful for us to kind of map it out in this way. And so your suggestions that you put in that spreadsheet are really helpful. And we're going to start kind of reaching out to those folks soon and just kind of doing an assessment of where they'd like to fit in on this process and kind of get them up to speed on what we anticipate happening this coming fall. So yeah, I'll move on, but thank you all for those great comments. This just kind of how I envision kind of stakeholder mapping and analysis. So there's I wanted to show you all kind of how this circle map on the right works. So it's a visual representation of how individuals or groups are kind of vested into a project or a process. And so it would help us identify kind of key stakeholders and understand their influence. And basically the center of the circle is kind of the core team or core people kind of developing the actual ability, along with the EC, the ESC, the consultant would be a part of that, helping us build it. And then additionally, kind of maybe leaders of the working groups that bring the information and the goals and the strategies that are forming to the consultant and us who are writing the actual plan. And then outer circle accountability, kind of those folks doing the work, having the discussions. So a lot of that would be the topic working groups, students in the Student Sustainability Forum, researchers, subject matter experts who are on those working groups. And then there's a consulted section, which is more nearing kind of the indirect engagement, where that might be folks who were leaning on that are more like subject matter experts, I guess, and I might have mentioned them already being more directly involved, but there might be folks who we bring into the loop here and there, or, once throughout the process that might have skills or expertise, let's say on, artists, for example, that we wanted to help design or creative thinking around something. There's lots of folks who we could consult along the way. And then people that we want to keep in the loop, but not necessarily are kind of deeply invested in the process. So that would be kind of like the public, UW community at large, and through like town halls or big community meetings that we could hold and share information at. That would kind of be that informed section. So this just helps me as I'm building out the structure and process, think about who fits where, and is kind of a helpful tool for that. So the next section, I wanted us to kind of reflect back and look forward. And with the limited amount of time, I might just have us focus on one question. And that I'm going to pull up just a quick whiteboard, and I want us to think about, and it actually would be helpful for me to, if those who have worked on the past either development or implementation of the previous sustainability action plan, could you all like raise your hand or some reaction to see, like, for me to see who was involved, because I don't know if everyone on this committee was at the time. Okay, well, for those who were, I want to think about during the process of recruitment, were there stakeholder groups or individuals that were overlooked, either not invited or involved or underrepresented in the initial action planning process that come to mind? A few that I've heard are specific students and OMAD and a few other groups. Go ahead, Jan.
I'm thinking about your question. I just wanted to keep my hand up because I was involved in the last
Oh,
one.
okay.
Comment.
Yeah, while Jan is thinking, maybe I can go. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't involved in the recruitment, obviously, but I was part of the working group, energy and environment working group.
Mhm.
So some of the groups that I think, so artist is definitely one group of people I didn't see were part of the discussion, and same applies to like humanities, social sciences, representation, and also some like public policy students. That's what I could think of.
Thank you. And I don't want to take us over time, but I wanted to propose this question to you all, and we might come back to it at our next meeting, to think deeper about the structure and how we want to learn from what we did previously. But a lot of these kind of folks who weren't involved previously are folks who I and our office are going to reach out to kind of early. So in the next couple months. Go ahead, Jan.
Could you share the link to your Miro board so that way
Yeah, that's a great idea.
outside of the meeting, and also I have to go.
Yeah. I will share this in the chat and wrap us up with some next steps. And I appreciate that, Jan, and I'll send this out in an email as well. But the final steps I wanted you all to come away with, keep populating that recruitment spreadsheet. That's really helpful for me. I'll send it around again. We built out about 40 people so far. But again, like we saw, there are quite a few gaps. And so I want to make sure that we're covering those that we know. And then as Lisa said, we'll get that RFP for the consultant out within the next day or two. So you'll see an email from me with a request for review on that. And then the summer meeting schedule, we're not going to have a meeting in June. We're going to give folks a break, but we'll reconvene in July and we'll start again on a monthly schedule. And I'm working to get that scheduled, so you'll see that on your calendar probably in the next week or so. But yeah, any questions on next steps or the summer meetings?
Hey, Lauren, I thought I'd just talk about something that we'll reiterate that we've sort of been doing in our practice for the group, but we have been cross-inviting ESC committee members to these monthly meetings and vice versa. If you're an EC member, we've inviting you as optional attendees to the quarterly ESC meetings. And Lauren and I have been chatting about that. And I think we're going to keep doing that. And we're going to keep the monthly cadence of this meeting, at least for a while. I think it's better to have the monthly meetings scheduled, especially as we're sort of really diving into updating the plan. And then we'll cancel them as needed with the goal of eventually this will be a quarterly meeting. But I think we can probably use a lot of that monthly meeting time as a group. So I just thought I'd
that's good context. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll be in communication with you via email. Thank you all for taking time today and discussing with us. We're continuing to adjust the planning process, and your input is really valuable. But yeah, enjoy the sunshine today if you can, and have a great afternoon. Thanks all.
Thanks, Lauren.
All right, bye.